1. The infamous tale of Attilla the Hun. There is a popular saying that evil has many faces, and in the 5th century, it went by the name Attila. His legacy, infamously called the Scourge of God, is filled with blood, terror, and destruction. But who was this person really? Just a violent warlord, or something far more terrifying? Attila the Hun was not born during peaceful times. Raised in a violent nomadic society, he soon climbed to prominence, turning the Huns into the Roman Empire's worst nightmare. He not only conquered cities, but also burnt them to the ground. He demanded large ransoms, slaughtered thousands of people, and terrorized entire regions. Mercy for him was not a strategy, but rather an imperfection, a weakness. From 434 until 453 AD, Attila governed the Huns, initially sharing power with his brother before assassinating him to gain complete authority. Under Attila, the Huns attacked over 100 towns in Eastern and Western Europe. His most memorable rampage was in 447 AD, when he devastated over 70 Balkan towns, killing or enslaving the entire population. To forestall repeated attacks, Constantinople was compelled to pay him 2,100 pounds of gold every year, an amount worth nearly $50 million today. In 451, he led an army of nearly 200,000 soldiers into Gaul, modern-day France, wreaking havoc until he was narrowly defeated in the Battle of the Catalan Plains. However, this did not deter him from returning to conquer Italy in 452, wiping out entire cities such as Aquileia. Roman writers such as Priscus and Jordanes described him as vicious and ferocious, emphasizing his savagery in battle. Many historians take Roman accounts of Attila with a grain of salt, given how much they like to dramatize events. However, this next man is a different breed of evil, Bad King John, whose betrayal of his own people earned him a place in infamy. 2. The treacherous Bad King John. When a monarch is remembered with the term bad before his name, you know he deserved it. John of England, who ruled from 1199 until 1216, was not just unpopular, he was disliked. His violence, greed, and betrayals not only harmed his opponents, but also shattered the confidence of his own people. Before becoming king, he revolted against his father Henry II and his brother Richard I, gave vast tracts of land to the King of France, Philip Augustus, and destabilized the English monarchy by scheming against the justiciar or chief minister William Longchamp. King John's reign was filled with disasters. He lost practically all of England's territory in France, including Normandy, due to military mistakes. His biggest sins, however, occurred in the royal chamber rather than on the battlefield. He taxed the aristocracy till they became bankrupt, extorted the church, and starved opponents to death in jail, including a young noble and his mother. He was suspected of killing his own nephew, Arthur of Brittany, a genuine challenger for the throne. Even his barons couldn't take it any longer, compelling him to sign the Magna Carta in 1215, a treaty designed to limit his authority. John signed it, then immediately attempted to disobey it, resulting in a civil war. Some historians claim he enhanced naval defenses and administrative procedures, although they were typically motivated by self-interest rather than patriotism. Unlike Attila, who ruled from horseback, John corrupted from a throne. Both left fear-based legacies. 3. The madness of Caligula. Power can corrupt the kindest of hearts, but in Caligula's case, it was nothing more than utter destruction. Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, often known as Caligula, ruled Rome between 37 and 41 AD. His reign was brief, but his cruelty was so appalling that historians continue to flinch. Initially, everyone embraced him. He was Emperor Tiberius's great-nephew, youthful and charming. But within months, Caligula transformed into something far worse than a tyrant, a monster. Some think he was disturbed by a major disease, but crazy can't be an explanation for his madness. He allegedly killed for enjoyment, feeding victims to wild creatures during gladiatorial games. He spent 2.7 billion sesterces, or nearly $675 billion in today's money, which was nearly the entire imperial treasury, in a single year on magnificent mansions, gilded sculptures of himself, and costly feasts. One of his most disturbing actions was converting the imperial palace into a brothel, forcing senators' wives to work as pleasure workers. He claimed himself a deity, erected temples for himself, and demanded to be worshipped as Jupiter. According to Suetonius, he compelled parents to see their children's executions, and he once very casually said that the Roman people had a single neck, meaning that he would enjoy executing them all in one blow. He mocked Roman politics by declaring his horse Incitatus a priest and nearly a consul. During his reign, over 160 senators and equestrians were executed, many of whom were not tried in an official trial. His paranoia resulted in everyday carnage. Though he built aqueducts such as Aqua Claudia, his efforts are overshadowed by the psychological and political devastation he left behind. However, years later, evil was about to progress from theatrical craziness to systemic extermination. 4. The horrors of Adolf Hitler. Some names are powerful, but this name will send chills down your spine. Adolf Hitler was more than simply a tyrant. He orchestrated one of the most methodical genocides in human history. His ideal of a pure world cost the lives of more than 70 million people worldwide. Hitler was born in Austria in 1889 and ascended to become the head of Nazi Germany. In only a few years, he transformed a struggling country into a military machine. What was his most serious crime? The Holocaust involved the death of 6 million Jews in gas chambers, ghettos, and concentration camps, such as Auschwitz and Treblinka. Millions more, including Roma, handicapped people, LGBTQ+ persons, and political opponents, were targeted and slaughtered.
Du meine Arbeit für richtig hältst, ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten bin.
He invaded Poland in 1939, sparking World War II, which killed an estimated 70 to 85 million people, or around 3% of the world's population at the time. His policies of ethnic hate, expansionism, and dictatorial tyranny annihilated nations, families, and futures. Some claim that he helped Germany's economy grow temporarily, but at what cost? Every gain was laced with blood, deception, and brutality. Hitler did not simply do evil, he industrialized it. And just when the world believed it had seen it all, evil resurfaced in Africa. This Ugandan tyrant's brutality kept his own people in absolute terror even after his passing. 5. The Butcher of Uganda, Idi Amin. Evil does not always arrive with horns. It might also appear with medals and a smile on its face. Idi Amin, Uganda's ruler from 1971 to 1979, described himself as the last king of Scotland. But underneath the showy titles and military parades was a man whose reign became one of the darkest in African history. Amin seized control in a coup, and the execution started almost immediately. According to estimates, between 300,000 and 500,000 people were murdered under his tenure. Victims included political opponents, academics, judges, and even army officers he had trusted. Bodies were dumped in the Nile. Hospitals overflowed with dying people, and families vanished overnight. In 1972, he removed almost 70,000 Asians, primarily Indians, devastating Uganda's economy overnight.
Actually, I took this decision for the economy of Uganda, and I must make sure that every Ugandans get a fruit of independence. Since independent, actually Uganda is not yet independent, I will say that. Uganda will be independent after this, my decision, after I want to see that the whole Kampala street is not full of Indians. It must be proper black, and administration in those shops is run by the Ugandan.
He entrusted their companies and residences to unqualified loyalists, throwing the country into disarray. Reports of torture prisons beneath government buildings, forced cannibalism, and Amin's unpredictable orders, including the death of pregnant women, solidified his reputation as a vicious tyrant. He mocked the world stage while supporting fellow tyrants in their crimes of power, and used food as a weapon against his own people. Even after exile, he expressed no sorrow, declaring, "I have no regrets." Some Ugandans remember him for creating hospitals and resisting colonial rulers. But what are a few hospitals when rivers become red? And just when you believe wickedness can't get any worse, history introduces us to a monarch who governed with fire and fury. 6. The ruthlessness of Ivan the Terrible. Some kings are feared for their power, and some for their insane cruelty. Ivan IV of Russia, as Ivan the Terrible, was both. He was Russia's first Tsar, ruling from 1547 to 1584 with nothing but blood-soaked reality. Ivan started with reform and equality. However, after his wife's mysterious death in 1560, something in him shattered. He established the Oprichnina, a covert police organization that harassed residents, killed hundreds without trial, and erased entire cities from the map. During the massacre of Novgorod, 1570, between 10,000 and 60,000 individuals were executed in 5 weeks, accused of treason without evidence. He beheaded his own son in a fit of rage, leaving Russia without an apparent heir. His paranoia knew no bounds. Nearly 4,000 public executions were carried out on his direct command. Torture, burning, and mutilation soon became a regular part of governmental policies. Yes, he increased Russia's borders and concentrated power, but at an unthinkable human cost. But this next individual will make you reimagine the idea of human cost. 7. The dark influence of Rasputin. Some men use words to rise to influence, while others use weapons. Rasputin used whispers. In the closing years of Imperial Russia, one man cast a shadow over the ruling Romanovs, warping politics, religion, and monarchy under one finger. His name was Grigory Rasputin, and while he had no formal title, he may have caused more harm than many crowned rulers. Rasputin was born in Siberia in 1869 and rose through the ranks from peasant mystic to royal confidant. By 1907, he had joined the Russian court, claiming that he could cure Tsarevich Alexei's hemophilia. Tsarina Alexandra believed him, and his influence quickly spread to politics, military choices, and cabinet appointments. Between 1915 and 1916, nearly 10 high-ranking officials were fired or removed based on Rasputin's suggestions. Russia's wartime government fell apart under his influence. While Tsar Nicholas II commanded troops at the front, Rasputin and the Tsarina virtually dominated the realm. He allegedly took bribes for government posts and corrupted religious authorities. Food shortages, inflation, and military defeats intensified, and the populace became increasingly angry with him. His death was as complicated as his existence. In December 1916, aristocrats poisoned him with cyanide, shot him many times, and drowned him. Some claim Rasputin forewarned the Romanovs of their demise. However, many feel his deception accelerated the demise of the Russian Empire. And then there's a woman who, like Rasputin, ascended during religious chaos, but transformed it into a weapon far more lethal than any poison. 8. The burning reign of Bloody Mary Tudor. In history, nicknames are not given out lightly. When people began calling Queen Mary I Bloody Mary, it was not out of rumor, but out of fear. Mary I, Henry VIII's daughter, ruled from 1553 to 1558. As a dedicated Catholic, Mary hoped to reverse her father's departure from the Catholic Church and restore England to Rome's control. But rather than influencing the people, she attempted to cleanse it. Between 1555 and 1558, Mary burnt 283 Protestants alive. These were not only rebels, they were professors, bishops, farmers, and even pregnant women. The most notorious burnings were those of Bishops Latimer and Ridley, who were bound to the same stake and set on fire at Oxford. Archbishop Thomas Cranmer, who was formerly close to her father, was also burnt after being compelled to witness the others' executions. Her marriage to Philip II of Spain made her even more rejected. It pushed England into war with France, resulting in the loss of Calais, England's last French colony. Thousands fled overseas. The flame she sparked not only destroyed individuals, but also left a mark on the memories of a nation. Despite her efforts to restore the currency and provide stability following Edward VI, her religious horror trumped any change. If Rasputin turned madness to evil, Mary took the holy and turned it into the ultimate act of wickedness.